Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Workbench. Today we're going to be looking at steps 11 through 15, and these ones look pretty complicated, especially with all of their interesting little shapings. I've moved the camera in a little closer so we can see what I'm doing a little bit better, and hopefully this time the audio will work all the way through. Now, let's go ahead and grab our first piece for our first little bit. This is going to be part number 42, and what we need to do is actually shape all of this into an interesting little guy. Before I do this though, I'm gonna grab my other piece here. This is part 43. There we go. And I'm gonna bend part 43 first. This way I can get an idea of how much I need to bend this little back area here on the other piece. So let's go ahead and get this started here. Again, going right to that edge, bending it down. There we go. I'm starting from the back because the back was actually connected. The front isn't connected. And if you notice, it actually can't connect if you try to bend it straight, and that's because it slightly bends. So we're gonna go like this. And see how it perfectly matched that curve? Awesome. Back here, same thing. It's about a 90-degree bend. Same thing. Boom. Trying to get this little front here is a little harder than I thought it would be. I might have to leave that right now and come back to it. I got a bit of a TP thing happening here, and I'm not too happy with it. Pinch that little front there. That was so unnecessarily difficult. It's probably just because I'm a little bit rusty when it comes to Metal Earth that I'm having a little bit of a hard time. I probably should have started with something a little bit simpler, but you know, I like to punish myself. Okay, so these guys are way too close together. Okay, we can actually clean that up once they're attached. Get one in and then we can get the other. There we go, got that front in. That was a little difficult to get those two guys in there. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and give them a nice little twist on both sides. And then I can work my way back a lot easier. It always surprises me what pieces actually make things more difficult. And it's funny that that little guy there on the front was as tricky as it was. But it just goes to show you too, like you can be kind of fooled on some of the easiest parts sometimes when it comes to these models. I'm trying to do a multi-series here, so you'll get my review at the end of the build. But so far, this is a challenging build, I have to admit. A lot more challenging than I was anticipating. But that being said, I am loving the detail on this build. You know, when we first started doing Metal Earth models back in the day, one of the big things everyone was dying for was more detail on builds. And, well, Metal Earth has delivered that now time and time again. But it's always funny sometimes when we look at this and you hear guys saying now, whoa, so much detail. And it's like, oh yeah, man. But back in the day, and some of those older models, when you go back to them, you're like, this is so simple. The problem is, though, with the newer models, with the older models, is that the actual metal is a little thicker, depending if you can get some of the older packaging, because they were made by a different manufacturer. This metal here is a little easier to bend, but what I do like about it is that it's a little bit, I'm finding so far at least, to be a little bit more forgiving than the other one was. Which, let's face it, even for new builders out there, having a little bit more forgiving metal is always nice. There we go. That edge looks really good. Bring this down here. Bend that just a little bit. There we go. Looking pretty good. This actually gets bent down, I believe, just ever so slightly. So I'm going to do that right now. And now I'm going to come back on this side and do the same thing we did on the one side onto this side. And all I'm doing is actually using this little front piece here as a reference to see actually how much I need to bend. So I'm going to bring that in a little bit more. You can see how that goes like this. And now I'm going to bend that in. Boom. We got that connected. Now I'm not done just yet. I'm actually trying to make sure that that is lined up nice before I secure it. And that's because once it's in there, if we try to maybe redo that detail, it won't actually be 100% flat. So it's always best to get exactly what you want before you secure it down. Then this guy right here gets a slight little bend. That might be too much on either side. We're gonna find out in a few minutes here when we start adding other things to this. Let's see if we can get that back piece now on here though. So these little tabs here on the inside are going to be attached to the little guys here on the left and the right. Let's see if we can get them in. Now these are secured with a twist, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Now one thing that I haven't mentioned, but I'm going to mention right now, is I am pressing. Like you can see there's spacing between there and the tab. You don't want that, so I'm going to press on this. Another thing that I'm going to do though is I'm also going to alternate the way that I twist. So if I turn left on this way, I'm going to turn right on that way. And that's going to make sure that everything stays secured in a nice, even fashion. If I was to secure both of them turning it left, then this will actually turn slightly to the left. If I turn it slightly to the right, it will slightly be tilted to the right. Okay, now let's go to the other side here. Okay, there we go. Woo, wait, look at there. That looks awesome. I'm loving all this like stacked layered detail on this build so far. It's looking really good. But one thing we need to do now is add some detail onto this guy. We're going to add some smaller bits of detail. Now, I do believe that this side here gets bent down. But I think it gets bent down like with the detail here. So I'm not going to bend it too much until it's in place, and then hopefully I can rearrange it when it's on there. Whoops. I am missing my... I am heavily missing my tab bending tool in this build, because this would be a great build for it. Just being able to reach in and grab all these pieces would be so much easier. But yeah, anyway. But again, you can always just leave it straight, and then when it comes to actually bending it, you can bend it in place later. Now that looks like that. I mean, not the greatest just yet, but again, keep in mind, we're going to add more and more detail to this, and as we add more and more detail to this, it's going to get a lot easier. Yes, I was actually supposed to put this on before putting this on. I didn't necessarily follow the instructions in that way. Sometimes I can overlook things, but now what we need to do is add these little stacks here that we formed in the last video. There's actually 3 different holes here, so we're going to place it right on that back one right there. So let's see if we can do that. Ooh, that actually went right in. And let's see on the other side here, it looks like we're just slightly out, so we're going to use our other tweezers here. And we're going to bring them in, and we're going to push this guy ever so slightly into the hole. Now that we did that, we can grab this guy here. And these are also connected with a twist. So we're going to turn to the right there. And with this one, we're going to turn to the left, just like that. And there we go. All secured. Looking good, looking good. Well, let's put this down over here because now we're going to be forming something completely different. And this is when it comes to those like weird pieces that I always have a little bit of a difficulty of understanding exactly what they want me to do. So what I try to do here is just try to guesstimate by bending down this little dude here. And once I get kind of a match, then I understand that that's about how much I need to actually bend the part. So there we go. We got that little guy there in the corner. And now we need to bend the rest of this down slightly. So, oh, I hate that. So let's do that. That. There's a slight little bend. This guy here. That little guy there is not even on the instructions, but we're going to just bend him out like this. Okay, cool. So that's what we have right now. I think that's okay. These guys here are going to be bent down. 1. Here's 2. Getting them all 90 degrees. There we go. Okay, now we need some small little details here. 47, we're just basically making a channel, so we're going to bend down one side like this. I hope you guys are enjoying the fact that I'm using traditional tweezers for this build so far, at least on these steps. it goes to show you, you can really use anything to build these models. You don't have to have the best tools in the world to be able to do this successfully. It's more about what you have and how good you can get it to go. Okay, now this piece here, it looks like the sharp part goes up top, and these two little guys here at the bottom on this little piece is where these guys go. These two little guys are right there. So let's go ahead and see if we can put that in there. Okay, looking pretty good there. And now we're just going to take this guy here, give a little twist, give a little twist, and finally opposite way, twist, boom. We got our nice little detail on there, looking pretty good. Let's clean it up just a little bit. Okay, looking great. All right, now we need to add another little bit of detail here. Looks like this guy here gets bent like this, and the other side gets bent down. The instructions on this build, I gotta say, you know, like this one, I don't know how to explain this, guys, but I'm feeling that the instructions on this one aren't as clear as they've been. I'm feeling that these instructions aren't as clear as some of the other ones they've had out there as to what you want to do, or what they want you to do per piece. I'm finding that the angles of the pieces are just ridiculous. Like this is a good example of one right now with the instructions that we're on. It's part 48, but you'll see in a bit here, we have another one coming up that I've already kind of built the other half to save some time. And that build, that was a struggle. That was a pure struggle, and you'll see why when we get there. Okay, now that is apparently what we need. So that looks great. Now we gotta build one more of these. So let's go ahead and fast forward to where I have the other side of this one done. Okay, and with the power of YouTube, we have ourselves the two pieces complete. Now, again, these weren't too complicated, but trying to figure out the angles can be a little bit hard. This one here on the left actually looks like it's a little bit off center. So I'm gonna have to fix that guy. One other thing that I did do wrong was I actually connected these top pieces incorrectly. You can see the tabs now. I actually like them connect the other way a little bit better, but I don't know if a little bit later on when we're putting everything together, if those pieces will get in the way. So I've reconnected them the way that Metal Earth has suggested. Now let's go ahead and put these down over here for now, and we're gonna get to work on some tricky pieces. Now what we're trying to achieve is this. This is the right-hand side of the Batmobile. This is it complete. This is a very difficult assembly to get right, and I don't even think I have this down here actually done correctly. We're gonna find out now though when we do the other side together. So this is what we're trying to achieve. I'm gonna place this over here, and now we're gonna get started with our first piece of that with the left-hand side. And that, of course, is with part 52. Now, part 52, the first thing we're gonna do is find the bottom here, and this is the bottom on the right here. And we also need to fold that triangle on the inside in as well. So actually, let's start with that. Let's grab this triangle right here, grab it here. What I like about these big flat pliers is they act as like a mini brake. There we go. And that actually is slightly bent like this. And then this guy here is your 90. And you can kind of tell that because of this detail here and how it gets bent up. You can see if everything lines up correctly, you know you did the right thing. If it doesn't, well, hey, try again. This is where we gotta make some big decisions. Okay, so I'm gonna go right here and I'm gonna bend that like that. And then go right here and match that side. And then I come up and I'm gonna bend it like that. All right, that is what I've done. Okay, and this is the part that I had a little bit of difficulty with last time too, was trying to figure out exactly what it wanted me to do with this little angle right here. So the hard part about this is that these pieces here have to be bent down slightly. So what I'm gonna do is use these guys here to see if I can do that. We're gonna bend this down. Oop, see, it's already difficult. Let's see if we can do this to get in there. And see, this piece needs to be bent. And then this piece needs to follow that, but like that, I think. Okay? I think this is enough. I'm hoping that's enough. Okay? You can see how we made a little bit of a 3D bend there. We can actually do more if we need to, but it doesn't look like on the instructions that it's a full bend. I think for right now we're okay. I'm gonna leave this as it is, and we're gonna move on to the next piece here, which I gotta say, for all the pieces that Metal Earth does and their instructions and showing us how to build things, I think this step right here, which is part 53, I personally believe is the worst that Metal Earth has ever done in terms of describing what to do in a step. And I think it's because of the way that they rotate it. It makes it really complicated to understand what you need to have done here. I think, and again, I'm not saying I've gotten this, is you kind of want to do something like this. You want to take this little edge here and you want to bend it just a little bit. And you want to take this guy here and you want to do the same thing. You want to bend it down just a little, okay? And then what you want to do is grab this guy here. And if you notice that on the reflective side, there's these little tiny spots right here, that little line. That little line kind of gives you an idea of where you're supposed to bend this little dude. So you have to make like a staircase. So let's go ahead and go back to here on the side. Go right to that line. And we're going to make that happen right now. And actually, if you go back a little bit on the detail right there, I actually messed up. So if you go back on the detail, you can actually see there's a line there that wasn't looking like there was on the other side. So it's right there. Boom. And then we grab the other part right at the line and we bend that down. And then we have something that looks like this. And you'll notice that one side has like a little bit of a lean and the other side doesn't. That's because now this dude has to fit in here. See, it's not as easy. It's weird. It's a really weird piece because once you put this together, this 3D model that it asks you to make, you almost have to collapse. And it's a weird assembly. This is a really bizarre moment. So let's just try to get the pieces where we need to get them to go. Like you can see what I mean though. It's a bizarre piece. Try to bend that guy down with my thumbnail. There we go. All right. Now we got this kind of matched up and looking good. So now what we need to do is add this onto the piece that we were just making before. And this is where things kind of get weird because we're going to be adding some really, again, interesting pieces here together. I'm going to bend this back a little bit. Okay, now this guy gets attached in this like really weird crevicey area here. You'll see. You also kind of get an idea if you shape this correctly, just if it falls into place or not. And now it looks like we actually need to bend this guy a little bit to get her in there. And it looks like I actually need to do a little bit of bending back on this piece in order to reach that in there. Try to get this little guy here in the corner. Get that guy secured, and then we can get this kind of bent in place. I think that actually looks pretty good. Looks a little better than the last time, to be honest with you. All right, we got that guy in there. Now we can get this little triangle. It's always the little guys, though, that give you the hardest time, I'll tell you that. Now, we're going to put this guy here on the inside, and it goes like this. It barely twisted with those. Barely twisted at all with those guys. That's the problem with these ones. They're not as strong as you think they are. And then this guy here. And we're gonna grab this one. And there we go. Cool. Looking pretty good. I think that looks pretty decent. Okay, now we need to add these little details here. These guys are not that difficult at all. It's just a matter of getting the proper amount of detail bent there. It's very easy to go too far. You only want to get the tabs on these ones. You want the circles there on the ends to remain up. And then now what we're going to do is attach this here with that there. And again, this is kind of a good way to see if all of your pieces are lining up or not, because if they're not lining up, if you don't have them bent enough, you won't actually be able to put these details into place. They won't be able to stretch as far as they need to. That's one thing I found with the other side, is that when I was guessing about how much I actually need to bend everything, some of the details didn't make it, and that means that this just wasn't bent enough. And again, I think it's because of how the actually instructions are done. It makes it a little bit more complicated, especially when you're trying to attach these lower ones here. Take this guy here and do a twist as well. Awesome. Okay, cool. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Again, I'm a little skeptical about how this will all go together, but we're doing all right. We're doing okay. We're taking it piece by piece, and that's all that's important. Now let's go ahead and grab another part here. This is gonna be part 57. And this guy here gets formed into a tooth. And like we've done with some of our other pieces, let's see if we can form this down here. And all we're gonna do is just kind of follow, whoopsie. Follow that around, and then we're gonna try to get these guys in their places too. Looking good. All right. Now we gotta place this guy into our muzzle. But first, let's bend these guys down here. And the hard part about this part is you gotta actually get the one tab in the back while getting the other two in the front. And Metal Alert suggests you get the back one done first, and then you put these two guys in here. So we're gonna do the same thing that they recommend just to see how it goes. And you know what? Not bad. Okay, let's just press on this, and then we're gonna push that down. Turn this around, and now we're gonna secure these guys, but we're gonna use a different pair of tweezers to do that. Let's grab those little tiny tabs. And again, while we're putting pressure on them, there we go. As you can see, we're just adding more and more detail as we go, which is probably the best. Trying to do more than one of these things at once would just be insane. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna take this guy here. We're gonna bend this up, and then we're gonna bend that down, just like that, giving it a slight 3D effect. And we can bring this little triangle here down, and we can see if we've achieved what we're supposed to achieve. And it doesn't look like it. So we're gonna do that. There we go. This one gets pushed through while the other one gets pulled out. And this one comes out, so we go on the other side and we're gonna push. There we go. Cool. Just like that, looking good. Okay, now that we got this here, we can add it onto our piece here. This is always a tricky part, so let's see here. I think this is actually folded towards me, like this. Okay. I'm going to do that to secure that one. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to twist these guys. And again, the key here is just making sure that we get as much of the tab in our tweezers as possible before we secure them. There we go. The Batmobile. Look at that. Looking good, looking good. Okay, let's put this down here and grab our next little piece. That's this guy right here. And again, kind of a weird piece. Like, look at what they're telling us to do. What does that tell you? Not a whole lot. I mean, we can figure it out. I'm not saying it's not impossible. I'm just saying that, yeah, it's a little difficult to understand exactly what they want. From my understanding, though, we want to do it this way, like that. Okay. Grab our little door here. Or not our door, but the, I guess it's kind of like the, I don't really know, actually, just yet. I don't know Batman enough to be this good. I'm going to have to guess Arune. Let's take this. One going that way. One going the other way. There we go. And now we're going to come down to this area here. All right. Now we're going to grab this guy here, but we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a twist. Grabbing as much of it in our tweezers as possible, doing a twist. There we go. We got it. Looking pretty good. Now we can actually put on another piece here. This one's also kind of interesting, but again, we can use this part to kind of form itself. We're going to go around here. Now you can see that didn't meet up. So we want them just to meet. Once you get like one side done like that, you get a good idea of where everything else is supposed to go. There we go. See, now we don't even almost need the instructions. Always look at the instructions, but we can follow the border and get everything in the right spot. Now we can also see that this is supposed to be closed. So we're going to take these guys here, bend it at the little line there. That actually bent really easily. So I'm a little bit worried about that hinge. Grab these tabs here, bend them down. Same thing here. Bend them down. Secure it. Looking good, looking good. Looking good, looking good. All right. Now we can finally take this little guy here and we're going to attach this on. And I think, if I remember correctly, it actually goes on. There we go. Cool. Now, typically, again, I would tell you to bend these in opposite directions, but when they're on the outside, it's really about aesthetics. So try not to scratch the black paint. If you have to, or if it does happen by accident, it's not a big deal. We can go over it with a squeegee. We can go over it with a black marker, and that will actually, I meant to say Sharpie, and that will make life a lot easier for us a little bit later on, just an FYI. Okay, now that we've got that last little guy on there, we can put our final piece on for this episode, and that's this guy right here. Now, all of this gets slightly bent, with the exception of this little front here. I'm going to bend that down, and again, we're going to bend this until they kind of meet. I'm trying to understand, again, how this goes, so I'm pretty sure this is like a pretty drastic bend. Yeah, it's like that. And then this guy kind of gets fluffed out, if I remember correctly. So like this and like that. Like it's very small. It's very small. Just like this. Very good. We can actually kind of pop it out a little bit more, I guess. We will know when we go put other pieces on if I need to actually make this bigger or not, but I think this is okay judging by what I got. And now this guy goes on right here, like this. But we need to do first here, of course, is just take these little tabs and bend them down. So let's do that. 1 and 2. There we go. And now we're going to put these guys in place. I know I've been saying "and now" a lot. I'm a little rusty on these videos, my dudes, so you have to give me a little bit of a break. There we go. It's actually really nice to be doing Metal Earth again. Took a little bit of a sabbatical from it last year. I did 1 or 2 builds, but nothing crazy. This year, I want to get back into the Metal Earth and do some more cool builds, but we also got some really cool 3D printing stuff coming out too. So keep your eye out for those. There we go. And boom, just like that, we have completed both sides, I should say, of our Batmobile. Just like that. This was kind of complicated. They actually look pretty good, I think. I think I did a good job trying to get it all done the right way. But I will say that the instructions weren't the clearest, especially when it came to some of the more intricate parts in here. I mean, honestly, like 53, that's a great example of how that could have just been altered or changed just a little bit in terms of the perspective, and it would have been a lot clearer for us to have been able to follow. Anyway, I digress. Do me a quick favor, press that like button if you had a good time here and you found this video useful. Press subscribe as well if you want more content like this. And also, we do some fun stuff, so check out some of the other videos as well. Until next time, Groovers, keep building.